We haven't found a way to sell trees. We don't realise just what an aura they have for us and that great feeling of when you walk amongst them. Well, I suppose my first experience with trees was in 1936 when I was a toddler, and we've got this black and white picture of me running through the trees in Windsor Great Park. But really, I suppose it started a few years later when we got letters to tell us that my father, it was the war of course, my father had gone missing and it was a Japanese prisoner of war. And during that time, those 4 or 5 years or whatever it was, I think I just got stress diseases, contagious diseases. And so a lot of the time I couldn't go to school. And I was running wild in Windsor Park. And as you know, Windsor Park is full of these great old trees. And I think deep down in my psyche, I was looking at these trees that have been standing for 400, 500, 600 years. And there was peace and tranquility. And so I always had this affinity with trees, and I still got it today, obviously, I've got it today. Now we're under trees and it's peaceful and I can hear kids playing over there and there's a robin just above us, and I just think it's fantastic. I then went to work in a university where I was primarily dealing with plant diseases and biology, and that interest in biology, zoology, you name it, took off. But the tree baseline stuff was always there, and then it became fungi, and then of course later on in life I got this liaison job with what was English Nature, which is their civil service body, with the Crown Estates. And that actually was to educate them, try and liaise with them to stop getting rid of dead wood. So I came up with a different word, decaying wood, much more positive. Decaying wood is fertiliser, it gets recycled, minerals and nutrients, trace elements, the whole cycle starts. There's a community under the soil just like there is in the tree, and that is called biological continuity, and we know so little about it. So I call ancient trees our rainforest. Well, veteran trees, ancient trees, really, in the UK are one of our major obligations to biodiversity. An ancient tree, for whatever species it is, obviously depends, but it's its age. And generally speaking, they've started to grow downwards. I like the word grow downwards because they start to reduce. They've often got loads of cavities and nooks and crannies, and many of them, of course, are photogenic, picturesque. They're linked with history and culture. Man and trees you cannot separate from day one. Man, trees and the other animals on this planet, we've existed together. And if we could get across to people what they give us, the benefits they give us, in peace and tranquility, come under this tree with me and have an argument. You'll find it very difficult. And why? Because that somehow about that aura, we've evolved with these trees, that lovely peace. I mean, it's like the seashore. If you hear the waves coming in, it's a sort of a very peaceful, soothing thing. And I think people are unaware what they get from trees. We take trees for granted, and that is what I would say. Do not take trees for granted, and certainly not the ancient ones, because we have perhaps the biggest single obligation arborists in the UK have to conservation and of biodiversity is us looking after our old trees. And the more we look at our old trees, the more we learn how to manage other trees.